A mob attack on Nigerian students in India.
Why did Indian students attack them in a shopping mall? I'm Malika Bilal.
I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream.
I don't womanize, I don't do any stupid thing in this country. But for Indians to come and attack me just for no reason, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. But the only thing I'm saying, if they don't want us in this country, they should let us know.
That was Endurance and Amalawa, one of the young Nigerians recently attacked in a New Delhi suburb after a candlelight vigil turned violent. Hundreds were gathered to mourn the death of Indian student Manish Khari, who died from a suspected drug overdose. Fellow students accused Nigerians of supplying him with drugs. Endurance, his brother and a friend were spotted nearby the vigil and attacked.
Well, this is just the latest attack against Africans in India, where tens of thousands of students from the continent study. Police have made arrests and opened a probe into the attack, but the Indian government insists it was not racially motivated.
Things like this can happen. We are human beings. It can happen. But why only to Africans?
Now, African embassies are urging the United Nations Human Rights Council to investigate. Meanwhile, African students were advised to stay indoors amid heightened security in the area. So here to help us discuss, we're joined in studio by MAHESH SHANTARAM, a photographer from Bangalore who recently completed a series on Africans in India. You can see his photos around us here in the studio. Sadiq Bello is a Nigerian student in New Delhi.
MINA WUMBEY is a student from Ghana and she's in Hyderabad, India right now. Also in New Delhi, TARUN VIJAY is chair of the India-Africa Parliamentary Friendship Group. Hello everybody, it's good to have you here in the stream. TARUN, I want to play a video comment that MINA recorded a little while ago. I just wanted to see how you'd react to her. Have a listen to this.
Being a black, this skin, being a black doesn't make you no less of a human. We are human beings. In fact, in India here, I've seen people who are blacker than me, but they still see me and they call me black.
That was MINA recording that comment after one of many attacks in India on Africans. How would you react to her? She's right here in our conversation, Tarun. What would you tell her?
My full support to her, and I share her anguish and anger. I am with her, but to say that the Indians can be racist is the most vicious thing, because we worship black God. Krishna is black, and we have been seeing the blacks, descendants of the African ancestors, living amicably in Maharashtra and Gujarat. Such attacks are attacks by mindless, criminalized people. Some time back, there were Biharis who were attacked in Maharashtra. There were Marathis who were threatened in Bihar, and so on. But they can't be racist attacks. There have been many such incidents. One community reacting against other community for certain reasons, economic or just like that, because the criminalized behavior doesn't need any logic. So this incident and the other incidents which have occurred in Noida are condemnable, they are unfortunate, but the Indians have been supporting, loving, living together with African students, African people, and we were the first to support the black rights. We gave Gandhi to Africa, and Africans turned him into Mahatma and sent back to us. So we have a great affinity and respect for each other.
Sure.
Perhaps in a moment of anger, shock, people are reacting. I can understand that, but they must understand that Indians can be anything but racist.
Indians aren't
we
racist.
are the victims of racism of the British people for long. How can we be? We have fought against racism.
So Mahatma Gandhi has been known for his attitude towards South Africans, and he has been known to have called them Kafirs. So that question about Gandhi not being racist and being embraced by Africans, there is that little rub there, that little bit of tension. But Sadiq, you're a student in India right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how racist have you found the Indians to be? 1 is very kind and accepting, 10 is where you're afraid for your life.
Yeah, hello. Actually, the races I've experienced here in India is that really most the Indians don't like our skin colors. That is the black color, because they are always been around with their own friends with same skin color. But if you are black, you have been behind them, is that they consider you as sort of trash because you had a black skin. And then at times they considered all the blacks and Africans are just smelling or something like that. I think this racism has to do with maybe malinformation or maybe inadequate maybe education on how humans are. And then, however, we the Africans were black, but we still have the same blood in us. And then, secondly, we are also humans. And then we eat what the Indians eat, when the US eats, when the Americans eat. But apparently, we don't eat human flesh.
So of course, yes. I mean, I've heard both, and I just can't help if, you know, I just want to say that I identify more with what Sadiq has to say, and the politician is speaking those words which one can read or hear every time these attacks happen. There is I've heard this each and every time. There is no racism in India, which is amazing. So I don't know. I just want to ask you, sir, why are so many people? Why are they saying that Indians are racist? Why are Indians saying Indians are racist? And why are people abroad also looking, and those who visit our beautiful nation also feeling that Indians are racist? I wonder why. Are they all wrong?
I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. Are you an Indian or an American? I don't know. But you should understand that a language you should try to be more respectful to another panelist. I'm not a politician here. I'm like a fellow Indian.
Sure.
I'm like a human being. And the hatred in your language and the kind of viciousness, the way you are conveying your thoughts, is something which is shocking to me. If we were racist, why would have all the entire South, which is complete, you know Tamil, you know Kerala, you know Karnataka and Andhra. Why do we live with them? We have black people around us. You are denying your own nation, you are denying your ancestry, you are denying your history, you are denying your culture, and you are trying to be good. That's very bad. I think we can be as good or as bad as any other human community.
So Tarun, I want to jump in here first, just to reiterate. Tarun, I hear you. I want to jump in here, just to reiterate the fact that Mahesh did pull out his passport to show you that he is an Indian who happens to be here on set and in the studio for us, visiting to talk about his project and the photos that we see in the studio. But I want to share with you an example because I heard what you say about there not being racism. And there are people in our community who agree with you and say that's not the case. Saleh on Twitter, though, is not one of them. He says he faces discrimination daily in India. He says, one day I ordered an online product, a t-shirt, and it came in a black box. An Indian thought it was marijuana. So I asked him, why do you think that? And his reply was, because you guys are black and from Africa, you do drugs. He goes on to say, though, I'm not saying that all Indians are racist, but the majority, he says, are. I know a lot of good Indians, and they are more like brothers than just friends to me. Mahesh, I know you have a similar story about a friend of yours from Cameroon who was shopping
he went to buy
in a market.
A mobile phone in a shop, and the shopkeeper kind of invited him, saying, "Sir, why don't you have a look at what I have? And you don't have to feel afraid. You can come to my shop and have a look at everything, because I have many customers from your country." And my friend said, "Are you sure you have customers from my country?" He said, yes, look at my phone. And he showed the contacts list on his phone. And it was Negro 1, Negro 2, Negro 3, Negro 4. That story is immediately funny, but it's also very exemplary of how a lot of Indians think and do not know what is wrong from right as far as this.
I'm sure.
Tarun, just give me a moment, Tarun, because I want to bring in the voice of a young African student studying in India. Tarun, let's share this conversation. Tarun, you said you're not a politician, you're a human being. Take a pause, and then let me just bring in Mina. Mina, there are headlines regularly in India. Here's one here. Bangalore, mob strips Tanzanian girl, torches her car as police watch. Another one, attacks on Nigerians, tight security in Greater Noida, cops assure action. How afraid are you to be out and about, taking part in Indian life as a student there?
Now, I want to categorically say I'm not racially profiling all Indians as being racist, but majority of the Indian population are racist towards we Africans. Now, I'm taking a larger scenario. For example, what happened in Bangalore around last year, March. This Tanzanian girl who was attacked, for example, she had nothing to do with what happened. It was a Sudanese guy who killed an Indian accidentally, and the mob attacked the Tanzanian girl because she was what? She was black. So that is the problem within the Indian society. They refuse to accept, just like this one is just saying, that Indians are with black people and therefore there is no racism. There is racism within the Indian system itself, not to talk of we Africans. So the earlier they start accepting the problem that there is racism within the Indian system, especially towards we Africans, and then they try to find solutions towards it. Because if they keep denying it, the attacks is going to get on every single day. It's not going to stop, and it's going to keep happening and getting worse day by day. So I completely disagree with him saying that there's no racism in India. That is completely wrong, and I totally don't agree with him.
Right, so
there is racism.
What happens each and every time is these incidents are seen as a law and order problem. But there's something where it is that, but there is something more than that, and it goes deeper. And so each time it's seen as a law and order problem, and the answer to that is putting more cops, putting 10 cops outside the victim's house. That is not helping. That, you know, you're applying a bandage, but you're not getting to the root cause. So what is this? What enrages a mob when they see an African? And then, like that video which you showed is a horrible video. I think there is nobody in India who can watch that video and say it's okay, it's excusable, and so on. We agree on that point, but we don't agree on what caused that.
The head of the African mission called the attacks, you can see it here on my laptop, xenophobic, and that no deterring measures have been taken by the government of India. Tori, not that you're speaking for the government of India, but are you seeing any way in which the current administration is addressing these attacks on Africans in India?
Is this directed to me?
It's Tarun.
Okay, so we have embassies here representing respective African countries, but I don't think these embassies are doing enough in as much as they are here representing the interests of their government. When there is an attack going on, Indians don't say this person is from Tanzania or this person is from Ghana or this person is from Nigeria. They attack you because they see you as an African. So when an African is attacked, I expect our ambassadors to come out and condemn the act. On the Indian side, the justice system does not favor we Africans here, because whenever there is an attack or there's a problem involving an African and an Indian, the Indian police refuses to file case in favor of we Africans. And we've been protesting against it. But when it's a crime against an Indian perpetrated by an African, they easily file a complaint. I don't understand why this keeps happening. So the justice system does not favor Africans here. The Indian government is not doing enough to ensure the security of African students in India.
I want to play a video comment we got from someone out of India. This is Anuha, and this is her take on this issue. Have a listen.
Anti-Black sentiment is deeply rooted in the Indian psyche, and I think that happens for numerous reasons, one of which can be tied to the British colonial rule, where light-skinned Indians were given privilege within the colonial system that their savage, dark-skinned counterparts were not provided. And tying white skin to superiority while seeing dark skin as inferior or as below, that in itself has generated a hierarchy. And I think that hierarchy is transferred to how Indians view African immigrants. And more generally, when you see Black people represented in popular culture, it is not in a positive sense. They are represented as drug dealers, as people in the back alley that you need to walk quickly away from. That in itself reinforces the said hierarchy.
So she talks about colorism and psyche, but there's pushback. This is Akash on Twitter who says, listen, we Indians are dark-skinned as well. It's numerous incidents of Africans indulging in the narcotics trade for long, which has caused this. He also goes on to say, no, I don't support mob or public justice or beating anyone from other nations, but it's Delhi, it's Noida, and those people are known for that. Mahesh, I'm wondering if you could pick up on both of these comments. One, that these are people in the drug trade, and therefore it seems to say he's implying this is justified. And then his second point is that it's not everywhere in India. It's just in Delhi. It's just in Noida.
Oh, but my experience has been that it's everywhere, all over India. So I've met Africans all over India, Bangalore, where I'm based, in Delhi, Bombay, Rajasthan, all over India, Hyderabad, and we see the same or similar incidents repeating themselves everywhere. And every city will tell you that, oh, we are such a hospitable city, but it happens in Delhi, not in our city. But that is not true. And I'm just referring to incidents in the last 2 years. So this keeps happening. And every time we address these incidents in isolation, it's not going to help, because there is something else that is connecting all these incidents. Now, about Nigerians being drug traders and all that, I haven't met any, so I cannot say anything about it.
Tarun, what's your question?
My question to this gentleman who says that he's an Indian and he has been all over India.
Look, my Indianness does not have to be questioned.
How would he react? Stop it and listen to me.
Right.
How would he react if a Manipuri, a Naga, or a Arunachal person faces some kind of an untoward incident in Karnataka, in Kerala, or in Delhi, and says that all Indians are rapists? Some women are facing a bad behavior from other people, and you start saying all Indians are rapists, all Indians are bad towards women. Biharis facing bad behavior in Karnataka, Manipuris facing bad behavior in Delhi's Karol Bagh, or some persons from Punjab or Kerala not getting a house on rent in Delhi. So all people are against Kerala, all people are against Bihar, all people are against Nagaland. This is funny. This is ugly kind of a don't spread poison and divisionist attitude. It's very easy to spread poison. It's difficult to start healing. This is a moment when we must be healing the wounds occurred because of any kind of a bad behavior or mistake. This is a time when India and Indians must stand together against all these kind of incidents. We have always been against racism. India has been the biggest victim
just take
of
a pause
racism.
for a moment, because I want to go back to our African students who are in our conversation right now, because they're having
don't give a bad name to the entire country just because of these incidents.
I hear you.
Indians are very nice people to everyone in the world. We have given shelter to all those communities who have refused shelter in the world.
Tarun, let me just speak to Sadiq. Tarun,
poisonous language.
If you're so kind to African students, let's actually speak to some of them, Tarun, that we actually have in our conversation right now. So, Sadiq, you actually approached the Minister of External Affairs. You tweeted to her, you reached out to her, and her response was what?
She's the most human face in the world.
Sadiq.
Actually, at that night of incidents, I was in my house because we have to be indoors. Because if you attempt of going out maybe to a mall or to go and see your friends, those Indians are already in the road, so they will attack you wherever you are. So I decided to tweet it on Susma Swaraja's page in Twitter. And then I tweeted on her that, ma'am, please, you have to act fast. As Africans living in Greater Noida is a life-threatening issue. So actually, I tweeted on.
Okay, we've lost.
And Sadiq,
Sure.
Indian government is sized this situation, and then immediate measures should be taken. And then since from that time, I guess the police in the Greater Noida are very vigilant, providing security to all Africans. And then, however, where I live, there's some number of police who came here looking for African students who distributed their series of emergency numbers so that anybody who's in trouble can make a call to them so that they can come to the rescue. And moreover, my university where I studied, they also call all the African students, if you feel you're not safe, then they will provide transportation.
Sadiq, do you feel safe now? Sadiq, do you feel safe now? All right, he's frozen. We'll come back to him in just a moment. Malika.
I wanted to bring this tweet in because, you know, he talked about the Minister of External Affairs and her tweeting back to him and releasing a statement. This is Abid on Twitter who says, I don't think merely releasing statements after the attack is enough. The government needs to bring strong laws to create deterrence. Mahesh, we also got other tweets from people saying that we need just a change of awareness and a change in the mindsets, education, so on and so forth. Is that what you're trying to do with your photo project?
Absolutely. I think I'm very interested in racism and what it feels like, what it looks like. That's important. That's what I'm trying to do through my work. So the work is
your pictures as you talk about them.
And the work is not about Africans. I want to say that it's not about Africans. It is really about Indians and their attitudes, behaviors, because I want to have a counterpoint to the rosy narrative that we hear about there is no racism in India and we are a friendly country. No doubt we are, but there is also that other side which is very important. And one should be able to highlight that without having their patriotism questioned or whatever.
So these pictures, I mean, they're beautiful pictures, but they're just everyday pictures of people around different parts of India. Why is this helping bridge this misunderstanding between some Indians and Africans?
Well, one of the reasons is that it gives a lot of my African friends voice. Their stories have not been heard. Well, Africans are of interest in Indian media only when there is an incident. Someone needs to get beaten, killed, maimed. Only then do they actually go on and there's a little soundbite. You know, but I want to capture more nuance through my stories and make that more visible. Hopefully this will become a book in years to come.
Right. There's a phrase known as sensitization. Is that what you're doing? Is that helping bridge the gap between one culture and other cultures?
I'm not doing the sensitization. I'm providing the raw material that would hopefully lead to that.
Mina, what do you make of that? Do you feel that just there are some Indians who just don't understand what it means to be an African, or they don't want to understand?
Honestly, I don't think they don't want to understand. I do feel like a lot of Indians, out of ignorance, a lot of them are not aware of we Africans. A lot of them don't even know about Africa. A lot of them think all blacks are from, like, you know, they see us like, they don't know we are from Kenya, we are from Nigeria, or we are from Kenya. They think all Africans are from just one side of Africa. I think that is
South
really,
African.
you know, appalling, and we are trying to educate people to let them know that Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent. So when you are specifying, you don't categorize every African as being this or as being that. So I think Mahesh is doing a good job by trying to create a positive image for Africans to Indians. So credits to him, and I applaud him on that.
Okay, so Mina, thank you very much, and TARUN, Sadiq and Mahesh. We're not done yet. We're taking our conversation online. Hashtag AJ Stream if you want to be part of that conversation as well. And this is where you need to go to, stream.aljazeera.com. We will be there online continuing this conversation. See you soon. Hello there, welcome back everybody. We're talking about the spate of attacks against Africans in India. We have Mahesh, Sadiq, Mina and Tarun who are back with us in this conversation. Mina, I'm trying to work out, what do you do when you say you want to educate some people who feel that you're different and it's the source of where the attacks are coming from, then not understanding all of the different countries and Africa as a continent, not a country. Where do you start with that education process?
So, you know, like, let me just be open and frank. A lot of Indians, I'm not generalizing all Indians, but a lot of Indians are really ignorant about we Africans. They don't realize that Africa is a continent. Some of them think Africa is a country, it's just one country. So, for example, if a Nigerian perpetrates a crime and they see any other black person from Cameroon or from Kenya, they think, oh, that person is from Nigeria, so, or that person is, as long as you're black and you're African, they just, like, you know, come on you. So we are trying to, I do some short videos on my Facebook, trying to educate Indians about Africa. It's a sort of promotion thing I'm doing on my own to sensitize the Indian population about Africa.
What would you say to Tarun, Mina? Because Tarun is pretty insistent that these attacks are criminal attacks. It's not to do with any kind of racism. How would you persuade him otherwise?
I'm sorry to say it's a racial attack, because if you take this attack, for example, that happened in Noida, this guy who was beaten, the Kenyan lady who was pulled out of a cab and beaten, she had nothing to do with the incidents that happened with the boy who died. So if it's not racially motivated, why were those two people attacked? I'm asking him if he can give me an answer. If it's not racially motivated, why was the Kenyan lady pulled out of a cab, and why was a Nigerian guy beaten in the mall? These two people who were beaten, they had nothing to do with the incidents. So why do you sit and say it's not racially motivated?
Let's see what Tarun has to say.
The Indian authorities, the Indian community is always refusing to deny the fact that attacks on Africans is racially motivated. But that is it. I've been in India for almost 3 years. I've experienced some sort of racism. And I'm telling you, every single attack that happens on Africans is racially attacked. It's racially motivated.
It's really shocking.
So if
I can sympathize.
it's not racially motivated, I won't accept that.
Should I say?
Go ahead, Tarun. Tarun, go ahead.
Against any one such bad incident, which we condemn, there are a million stories of love, amity, and acceptance. Don't make poison your bread and butter. Don't condemn an entire people, an entire nation for such incidents. Indians love you, have full faith in you, and we want to be together. Don't try to generalize one incident and think of Manish Khari. Perhaps the people, it's a crowd mentality. They try in a wrong way, identify one incident with the other community. That's a bad behavior. But such incidents can happen out of ignorance, out of some kind of a criminalized mind, anywhere. Don't condemn an entire land and people for such incidents. And my request to some people who are selling poison as their bread and butter is try to heal and make good stories of amity and togetherness. That will make the future and the path ahead much better. That will create a confidence amongst other people also to understand you. If you start on a screen condemning entire people, everywhere you see racism in India, what kind of a response you think you will get? Everywhere you see togetherness. There are colleges, there is a parliament. We invited only the African envoys inside the parliament, held a meeting with them, and we are having a great relation with them. Why? Because we have a sense of great feeling for them. We want to live together, and we want to condemn and fight together against these kind of attacks. We would like to fight with you, not against you. So my request is, India is your land as much as Africa is yours. We are your people. We have the same blood.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm not condemning all Indians as racist. I didn't say that before the beginning of interview. I categorically said I'm not profiling all Indians as racist.
Every single sentence of every person on this show was against Indians, against India, including that gentleman who said he's an Indian. Everywhere he's saying bad Indians. I mean, is this the way that you want to live with us and you want us to support you? You are condemning the whole country. This is not a good thing. You are a young person. Have a dream of Nelson Mandela and Gandhi and Martin Luther King. They must inspire us to move ahead with a spirit of togetherness. That is the way.
So Tarun, your idea about not painting everyone with the same brush,
very bad.
I'm using it to apply to our online community as well. That warning. This is a tweet we got from Rijul, who says Africans should stop selling drugs, and maybe we shouldn't call it racism because it isn't. So there's one broad brush. There's a pushback to that. Zayad says not every African is responsible for selling toxic drugs, and maybe you shouldn't stereotype because we are not all the same. But Shalindra here, this is the point that I'm going to pivot to you, Mahesh, on. He says those behind attacks on Africans are already behind bars, and sensitization programs are being undertaken. Do you think that they will work?
Well, if sensitization is happening, that's great, because that is what is required. But I have an interesting story to share. I was listening. I was at an audience of 150 people addressed by the Delhi police, a very senior officer, and he was trying to assure that everything will be all right. So he was telling the small group of Africans in the group, we'll do our part, but you have to do your part. You have to tell your friends not to resort to, not to sell drugs. So now suddenly this small group of Africans in an audience of 150 became responsible now to go and tell all their African brothers not to do drugs.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Let me show you some video that caught my eye, and this was from an independent journalist piece of research. It was Vox Pops going around Delhi, and 2 years ago. I'm just wondering, Sadiq, if the attitude has changed. Have a look at this video, and then you can tell me if attitudes have changed at all.
If they're around, you feel a little overpowered just by their presence.
हमें नहीं लगता कि हम उनके साथ मिल सकते हैं या एडजस्ट कर सकते हैं या उनके साथ में रह सकते हैं, क्योंकि हमारी थिंकिंग अलग है, उनकी सोच अलग है.
They're just into themselves only. They don't interact with other people.
वो बहुत डर लगता है जैसे कितने खोले तब एक माफिक जैसे.
I just want to put that picture up of that lady once again, because she was saying that Africans are as black as skillets, and she is blessed with melanin right there. So I am slightly confused. But anyway, I'm just thinking, that is Delhi. Sadiq, you are in Delhi. Is that are those common phrases that you hear that people talk to you about, that they react to you about? Or have things changed in the last 2 years? Are people getting more used to there being African students in Delhi? Sadiq.
Is this to me?
Yeah, Mina, you help us out, because Sadiq's Skype is going in and out. Do you think Indians are getting more used to the idea of African students? Because those comments felt like you were sort of some other kind of foreigners out there.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question again?
Are people more used to you being in India right now? Are you still getting comments like, they're so black?
Of course, that will never change. As long as you are black, that will never stop. I mean, we get like comments of being called Negroes. They see us as cannibals. They see us as prostitutes. They see us as drug addicts. You know, that stereotype against we Africans, it's there and it will never change. But I think more can be done to stop this. I think it's just sensitization and education, educating the people and letting them know that not all Africans are like that. In terms of drugs, I won't deny the fact that some Africans do indulge in certain activities, but that doesn't generalize all Africans as same. They generalize all Africans. That is the problem. They generalize every African as a prostitute, as a cannibal, as a drug addict. That is my problem. We love India. If we don't love India, we wouldn't be here to study. We love India. We want the people to accept us. You know, that's the same way we accept them back home in Africa. There are millions of Indians staying in Africa working and living peacefully. I don't think if an Indian perpetrates a crime in Africa, somewhere in Nigeria or somewhere in Kenya, Kenyans or Nigerians or Tanzanians will start attacking every Indian they see on the streets. Do you think Kenyans or Nigerians have the heart to do that? But here in India, that is what happens. If a Nigerian commits a crime or a Kenyan commits a crime, every African they see is being attacked. How do you describe that if you don't describe it as racially motivated?
Guess I'm going to wrap up the conversation now. Mina, I've also seen a lot of love for...
I think she must retrospect. She must introspect. We have seen Indians from Kenya being driven out and they had to take shelter in London and other European countries. But that should not be an example for us. The example should be that millions and millions of Africans have been living in India with amity, with love and with respect since ages. And some incidents which we are against, and we stand with MINA, we stand with all those guys who have been attacked, and we are against those people who have attacked them. But those incidents should not be generalized. There is a great future for us, and that future is only the future of togetherness. Don't make selling poison your bread and butter, and don't play victim. Trust each other. We trust you, you trust other people. There can be some bad people, but the millions and millions of Indians are very nice, decent people. That's the reason we have been here.
So Tarun, we actually got a direct comment reply to you via Twitter. This person says, why are you denying that there's a problem, no matter how big or small? Having the discussion is not spreading poison. But I'm going to end this conversation via Twitter
and defeat it together.
With this comment. Someone who might agree with you. This is someone who says abhorrent racial attitudes are confined to a fringe minority and do not reflect an increase in overall racism in Indian society.
Mahesh and Sadiq and Mina and Tarun, thank you for being part of this conversation. We really appreciate your time. Take care, everybody.